Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Monday Morning Art Talk. I'm Steven Silver, character designer and teacher, dedicated to helping you learn about the art industry and living up to your potential. Whippy! Welcome to another Monday Morning Art Talk. So before I get started today, I'd just like to share with you a link down below. Feel free to check it out. There is one on my hero, a documentary that I made that you're able to download it for, watch it for free. It's through Vimeo, but you got to use the link down below in order to see it that way. So check that out. And also, if you guys are interested in getting a caricature done by me of you, I'm doing that too. So you can look at that link down below there as well. Today, I wanted to talk about just really finding your passion and doing it to the best of your ability. And this is coming from the words of my hero, Mort Drucker, who just passed away yesterday morning. It's something where it was unexpected. I mean, he was old. He was 91. I didn't know that. I knew that he was sick and that he was ill. He wasn't doing so great. Luckily, I mean, he didn't succumb because of the virus or anything. He died passed away. I like to use that word instead. He passed away in his sleep. And you never know when you're gonna, what a topic might come up from. I wasn't planning on doing a topic on this today, but here we are in this situation. And what I really wanted to talk about was what Mort did, what it means to truly find a hero in your life, and what it means to find someone who inspires you and why that's important. But ending with something that was very powerful, and I wrote it down here, is what Mort would say. He said, follow your passion and do it to the best of your ability. And that was something that he really felt strong about, and something he did, and something he shared all the time. I was very fortunate to have found Mort Drucker when I was in high school through Mad Magazine. And this is, again, the importance of really finding your hero, finding a mentor, finding someone who may not necessarily be there in the beginning anyway, to teach you and actually call on your name and say something to you, but for you to discover an artist within your life that you can try to emulate and that you admire, and the importance of that, to really seek that. Sometimes it comes to you. Sometimes you don't even know who these people are going to be in your life. I wasn't expecting Mort Drucker from Mad Magazine to come into my life. At first, I was always the Rockwell. I loved Norman Rockwell. That was a huge influence. I like cartooning, but I had a bunch of random cartoon books. There was no real purpose at that point. And that's where, when I was in 11th grade and discovered Mort Drucker in Mad Magazine, because a friend of mine showed me his work, all of a sudden there became a purpose. And now I was able to take that it just kind of like hit me like, what the heck is this? And I remember distinctly, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger from that movie Commando, I believe, that he made, and he was standing there holding a big old, machine gun and doing his Arnold Schwarzenegger thing, and I was just like, oh my God, look at the caricature, look at the figure, look at the inking, look at the hands, look at everything, and it just struck me, and from that point on, I became hooked, I became addicted. And I couldn't get enough, and just trying to find, who is this guy? And from there, I still didn't really study from him as I should have. That didn't come till I graduated from high school, when all of a sudden I found myself in high school doing caricatures more because of Mort Drucker. And that led to my professional career, getting hired as a caricature artist in theme parks. And then from there, the person that hired me, and his name was David Kamish, and Paul Kamish was his brother. And David Kamish became a huge influence to me. And Dave Kamish was hugely influenced by Mort Drucker and Jack Davis. So he developed his style from those guys, but had his own unique flair to it, but just turned me on even more to Mort Drucker and Jack Davis. And then from there, I was just copying them all the time. So a lot of my style, who I was trying to emulate, I was trying to be them. And that was a very important thing, I think, in that I went through. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially in the beginning, is trying to be like your heroes, because you learn from them. There's something that sticks. There's just something that resonates with you. You don't even have to force it. No one has to tell you to copy this person. No one has to tell you to study that person. You just, I mean, sometimes teachers will say, hey, look at this person, look at this artist. And if they grab you in a way, good. If they don't, oh well, so it's okay. You know, you're gonna find that person. And I think we don't know who that person is gonna be. And that artist, again, Mort Drucker, that's who that guy was to me. It just kind of stuck, and I thought in my mind, good God, man, this guy can draw. He is so good. He's got all the right tools. He knows lighting. He knows composition. He knows construction. He knows anatomy. He knows caricature. He knows how to draw hands. He knows how to draw movement. He knows how to draw composition. He knows how to do all these things, where I realized that was going to be a gold mine to observe and understand within his work. So starting that emulation process. And because of that, it just made me a better artist. I found Mort Drucker, and Mort Drucker just made me a better artist. And on my walls behind me, you can just kind of see, I've shared my studio many times on my videos, but I have a lot of his originals. And then, so through my love and passion of Mort Drucker, just got me into doing caricatures, and I became obsessed with it and doing it all the time and learning, copying his work all the time, studying, and then looking through observation and studying people and just drawing every day in the theme parks was building up my skill set constantly. Again, just what Mort said, just following your passion and doing it to the best of your ability. And that's what I was just trying to do. It became my passion, and Mort taught me that. And then I would find books like, for those of you guys on my podcast can't see it, but those of you guys watching my video, was Mort Drucker's Mad Showstoppers. This book, just a tremendous artist. And through that, eventually got me through just a lot of hurdles. I could just learn so much. And then from Mad Magazine became Sam Viviano, another amazing artist. And again, Jack Davis, another amazing artist. And these artists became my teachers. So they became my mentors through observation and studying their artwork, even though they never taught online. They weren't there. It's not like what it can be today. And that became a resonating thing that really stuck. And then it eventually carried through into my animation career, where because of the love and the passion of caricature that Mort Drucker and these other artists had given me, I would fill my portfolio with that. And submitted my portfolio at the right time to Warner Brothers Animation on a show called Hysteria, which was very caricature heavy. So all because of Mort Drucker and letting me, and him guiding me, not knowing him, I didn't know him, and his mentorship at the time, him being a teacher, just guiding me. I used to dream about meeting Mort Drucker one day. I used to dream about, I knew he had daughters, but they're older than I am, but I used to dream of, I want to marry one of his daughters just so Mort Drucker can be my father-in-law. You know, and another time I want to kidnap Mort Drucker and just take all his, and tie him up and just get all his knowledge from him and force him to teach me, and he can show me, and these stupid things. But I was so obsessed, you know, with him. Again, I used to carry his work around with me everywhere. It was just my obsession. And then I got my job at Warner Brothers, and the director, Bob Doucette, was a huge Mort Drucker fan, was a caricature artist, and we connected on that level because of our love for Mort Drucker. He saw in my portfolio the Mort Drucker influence, and through that we could have great conversations. So meeting a director, whenever you're going to get hired at a studio, you meet someone, trying to find something to bond over is a great way just to connect with people, and that became a connecting bond, was Mort Drucker. Through that, they gave me a test, and that's what got me my job at Warner Brothers, was doing caricatures, really the character designer, but I was doing caricatures for the show Hysteria. and which led to so many other things. So caricatures have been such a huge part of my life through this whole thing. At one point I was working at Warner Brothers, I'm drawing all the time, and an artist friend of mine said to me, hey, you know what, man, your stuff's really great, but maybe you shouldn't copy Mort Drucker so much. You got such an influence of him. You should try to be yourself. Some people would take offense to that, but it really stuck with me and made me realize, you know what I do? I need to find my own voice. And that's when I actually started to put Mort Drucker's stuff away, but never took it away from my heart. He was always in my heart. He was always in my mind. And then as years went by, I joined the National Cartoonist Society and was at where Mort Drucker was a member of. It's a Cartoonist Society organization where a lot of my heroes were going there. Unfortunately, so many of them have passed away. They're not there anymore. They don't show up. It's not what it used to be, unfortunately. But that's where I got to meet Mort Drucker. And I remember meeting him for the very first time, where I was sitting. I had just printed my very first book, The Art of Silver. And I'm trying to actually think, because Jack Davis, I must have had the book or something else before that. I'm trying to remember if Mort Drucker had written something for that book. I have it right there, but I don't want to grab it right now. And I remember just sitting there at this convention. It was a meeting where it was a whole week, like about 4 or 5 days of all these cartoonists getting together, and there were like talks, and it was a social gathering and drinking and just partying. And here I am with Mort Drucker. So I get to meet Mort Drucker for the first time, and I remember distinctly sitting there talking to someone else, I don't know who, but it was in the bar of the hotel, at a table, and I was just sitting there just staring at him, and just like I just couldn't get the nerve to go talk to my hero. This is Mort Drucker. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? How do I do it? And I eventually just got up the nerve and the courage, and I walked up to him, and I was standing there, and at first he wasn't really looking at me, and then he looked at me, and then he just had a smile on his face, and I said, "Hi, Mort. My name's," I don't know what I said. I was probably saying the dumbest thing, and I don't know what I even said, but just like, I'm a huge fan and I'd love for you to look at my work. And he was so gracious and said, "Yeah, let's sit down." And he looked through my work, and we just started talking, and we had so much in common. There was just this love of just Norman Rockwell, and this love of philosophy, and this love of history, and we just connected in such a way. And I don't know what it was. He just like became all of a sudden at that moment like this my dad or this father figure, and he just embraced me from that moment on. And then we were at a bar at the night, and he bought me a beer, and I remember holding on to this bottle and going, "My God, Mort Drucker bought me a beer." And I'm just sitting there like he bought me a beer, and I'm sitting there having conversation with Mort Drucker, and it was just flowing, and we just connected, and that fanboy thing just vanished, and it was no longer there, and it became this real conversation. And through there I was able just to communicate with him and talk with him, and then kept in touch with him. And then I went to New York, and I visited him, and he invited me to his house, and I went to his house, and he welcomed me into his studio, and met his beautiful wife Barbara, and she was so welcoming, and she welcomed my wife, and we all connected. And I don't know what it was, but there was this spark to where I realized that this was supposed to happen in my life. I was supposed to, everything that happened was for a reason. That from my love of finding this man's work to eventually leading on to meeting him in person and building up this connection to where it led to him, me asking him and having this relationship and saying, "Hey, Mort, I'm teaching online and everything, and I would love to do a documentary of you and film you. Would you be open to that?" And at first he was very skeptical about it because he didn't like people. He never wanted anyone to film him draw. He didn't do it. You never saw any footage of the man drawing because he made him nervous. It made him uncomfortable. He never did live caricatures. And just through talking to him, eventually he said yes. And I'm just like, oh my God, he said yes. So then I went and bought this real expensive video equipment, like a $6,000 camera at the time. And I got my twin brother involved, and I got this just this editing software. I don't even know the name of it anymore, but it's one of the popular ones. And I went with my twin brother and the whole week, and we were filming him, and he welcomed me into his house. And this was the first time I'd ever filmed anyone, made any sort of documentary. And that's the link that you guys can see below. I'm watching that film, and I'm so grateful and thankful because all these years, no one had ever filmed him in such a way, and it would have been lost. And I was watching it yesterday and going, thank God that I just did that. It was for this. I can't even explain it, and just like how everything in life is meant to be. Other than that having the ability to do that and having the foresight to do that, to where so many legends are lost. You don't get to see them. Al Hirschfeld was another great person who, unfortunately, fortunately they filmed that movie, The Line, L-I-N-E, King, on him, to be able to see him. Otherwise it would have been lost. And I'm so grateful to have that opportunity to meet this man who inspired me and gave me so much of who I am and made me the artist I am today, because of his writings, because of his teaching, because of his philosophy, and his constant telling me just to draw all the time. And I remember meeting him for the first time at San Diego Comic-Con. Is actually where I first met him as a real fan before I got to know him, was when I was a young boy and went there. I was working at Warner Brothers at the time. I think I was maybe around 24 years old, and met him for the first time, and showing him my work and his words of encouragement, and learn how to draw folds and just learn how to draw the human figure, and made me realize how important drawing the human figure was, and encouraged me to do that because of those words. And I listened to him, and I didn't just, none of his advice was just in one ear out the other. It's like taking it in. I'm like, I'm going to follow your advice. I'm not going to have your journey. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that. But I just followed his advice, and again, and then that was it. He would just write to me from that. I would write to him. He would write back, old school, in a letter and snail mail. And it's such a special time, an amazing thing. But taking that advice, always just following your passion and doing it to the best of your ability, because that's what Mort Drucker taught me. And he's given so many people life and their ability to do. People realize this was possible. Wow, look what this guy's doing. This is possible. And then my greatest joy in life was when my dream was, because of Mort Drucker, to always work for Mad Magazine. And that day came where I got to work with the real guys, to me, in the sense, the New Yorkers, the guys that were in New York, who held that magazine together so long that they hired me to work on and do some issues for them. Was such an amazing thrill. And I remember when Mort Drucker found out that I was working for Mad, he was so thrilled and he was so happy for me. And it was just so amazing just to know, my legend, my hero saw it. And because of him, I'm there, and I got that achievement ticked off in my life because of him. Because of this man who gave me so much and had such a legacy. And it's my hope that people will never forget him and the amount of artists that he inspired throughout this life, because he was the guy. He was the guy and still is. And every day when I look at this artwork on my walls, I'm reminded of the greatness of this man, and reminded how important it is to constantly develop your craft and work on your craft, and find your heroes and mimic your heroes and learn from your heroes. And if you can, reach out to your heroes, because you never know when they're going to get back to you. Some of them never will, unfortunately. But the importance of finding that hero along your journey to give you the tools in life to help you grow, and not neglect that, and don't think that you're above anyone, and don't think that you're better than anyone, and don't have an ego, because he was the kind of, he taught me humility. He taught me how to be an artist that you're so looked up to and admired, that Mort Drucker. And all of a sudden to have this temperament of just a real human being, and humility and no ego, and love and compassion towards others, and truly care for others. And he taught me that. And that's something that I admired that so much in him and Jack Davis, that I said to myself, if I ever become famous in a way that people know who I am and they look at my work, because that was, a goal. You want your artwork to be seen. You want people to hire you for your ability. And I knew that if I ever reached that, where people will look at my artwork and want to buy it and people would want to hire me, that I will always treat people with respect, that I will never be above people, that I will never try to feel that I'm better than anyone. I will just be myself and just learn from what these guys have shown me and taught me. And that's where, unfortunately, a lot of artists, not a lot, but there are those handful of artists who have their egos and that mentality of they just a little bit in their heads feel like they're a little bit better than people, and it affects them, and they can't even have relationships really with other artists because they're threatened by them in a way, or whatever it may be, where these guys just did what they did and draw what they do. And I think that's the real lesson in one's life too, is just to be you. Just draw what you're going to do. Find your own passion. Follow your own pursuits and just do that. And that's the most important thing. And I'll end it again here with just what Mort had said, is just follow your passion and do it to the best of your ability. Thanks so much for watching. I'd like to give a big shout out to my Patreon followers. And thank you guys. I'd like to thank everyone who follows this. Please subscribe. Please share. If you can, if you like, I appreciate that. And if you'd like to get a caricature drawn of me, of you, I'll be more than happy to do it. You guys can look at the link below and I'll get that out to you. So thanks again so much for watching. I wish you guys all the best and stay safe, stay healthy. We're going to get through this. The coronavirus is going to be gone soon. We're going to get rid of that, but just make sure that you're working on yourself, your own passions, your own focus, and let that be something that you really want to build towards. Again, just constantly working on what it is you're passionate about. All right, make it a great week, and I'll talk to you guys next week. And I love you, Mort Drucker, and God bless Mort Drucker. All right, take care. Bye. To learn more about my Skype mentorships and workshops, please visit silvertunes.com. And if you like, sign up for my mailing list where you'll be notified of any upcoming workshops or events. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.